Hi, this is Bruce Lindsay working with Liz Gallo on our project to document the stories of veterans. Today we are with World War II veteran William Caparella. Mr. Caparella was with the Naval Construction Battalion in the Pacific Theater during the war, better known as the Seabees. Okay, we're ready to start. If you want to just start off by stating your name and
Okay.
how old you are.
And you want any Navy titles?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. In other words, my name is William A. Caparella, carpenter mate 2nd class, United States Navy.
Okay. And we were talking about how you were working at the, well, first of all, where were you when the war broke out? Do you want to explain that?
I was working in Mechanicsburg Navy Depot, in Mechanicsburg. It was with the construction company, building that Navy base. That's where warehouses.
Okay.
That's supply houses up there. It was a big project.
Was that after the war had started?
What's that?
Was that after the war had started?
Yeah, at the beginning of the war, yes.
Okay. How about where were you when the war started? You want to tell that story?
Where was I?
Yes.
Well, actually, I was in Philadelphia watching a football game. And local Catholic school was playing the Philadelphia Catholic school, and they announced on the radio the attack on Pearl Harbor. That's where I first heard about the war. Pearl Harbor, the bomb of the Pearl Harbor. And that happened when I was in Philly that day.
And you were working at the depot already when that happened?
I was already working in Mechanicsburg, yes.
Okay, so then you decided to volunteer for the Navy?
Yes, I did. I just decided to volunteer for the Navy.
And how did you become a Seabee?
Well, since I was in construction in civilian life, these recruiter says, well, you have construction experience and we need construction experienced men in the Seabees. So Seabee stands for Construction Battalion. That's where the Seabee comes from, not the word Seabee. So I joined, I enlisted in the Seabees, and I was associated with them ever since.
Where did you go for basic training?
Well, I went to Norfolk, Virginia. We had Navy training down there. That's about it, Norfolk, yeah.
Well, what were the two bases where you were?
Other camps, well, Camp Allen was the first one, and I forget the name of the other camp.
Camp Perry?
Yeah, Camp Perry was one.
Mm-hmm.
And you did more training there.
Yeah, Marines. When we went to Camp Perry, we had Marine instructors to train us for battle warfare.
Okay.
We got their experience.
Then after that, you went across the country?
Yeah, well, I went to Dutch Harbor, Alaska.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time up there.
So this would have been about 1943 when you went to Dutch Harbor.
I don't know what years they are. It could, if it was the beginning of the war, yes.
Yes, that's the first. And you were doing construction there?
Yeah, we were doing construction work there.
And buildings or warehouses or what?
Warehouses.
Okay.
Warehouses was the main line because we had to build warehouses up in Alaska.
Were they bringing in supplies there for?
I don't think so. I don't think we got much in supplies.
This is one of the Aleutian Islands, correct?
But that,
One of the Aleutian Islands, Dutch Harbor is one of the.
Dutch Harbor is Aleutian Island, yes.
Okay. And the Japanese had attacked.
Well,
the
Japanese had attacked Dutch Harbor early in the war. One of the first Allied establishments to be attacked by Japan. It was one of the first. It was attacked, but that's in the peninsula off of Dutch Harbor. I mean, off of Alaska. It's Dutch Harbor.
So you spent some time in Dutch Harbor building and doing construction.
Yeah, we were training more than anything else, preparing for the future construction work.
Okay. And after that, you were there for about a year, I believe, from your record. Then you went to an island in the Pacific somewhere.
Yeah, we went. First place we went, Dutch Harbor.
Right. And then after that, where did they send you?
I can't remember.
You went to several islands in the Pacific, correct?
Yes.
And you were doing construction whenever you went to those islands?
Yeah, we were expanding
Right.
and building the warehouses and so forth.
Remember the island of Ulithi?
What's that?
Ulithi was the name of one of the islands.
Oh, yeah, we went to Ulithi. That's in the South Pacific.
Yeah. And that's as the Allies were moving across the Pacific, taking the islands.
That was what?
As the Americans were moving across the Pacific.
Yeah, the Americans would go there. That was a staging base, I believe.
Okay. You in 1945, then you were on Okinawa, correct?
I guess that was when it was.
Yeah. That was the invasion was started on April 15th, and you were there in April, so you must have been there fairly early in the campaign.
I guess so. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the date.
Are there any things that happened that you remember that you want to tell us about? Please.
Well, why don't you tell them where you were on the ship that transported you? That there was dive bombers, kamikaze dive bombers,
Oh, well.
and they was attacking the ship.
Well, if you want that kind of information, yeah. Yeah, well, it was, the Japanese were flying their planes and attacking the port and the ships there. And,
Was that in Okinawa?
yeah.
That was the Battle of Okinawa.
Yes.
Yeah, the battle of there was a battle there.
Did you
But-
mostly build roads?
But we went there after the battle was started.
Right.
Well, why don't you tell them what transpired when that kamikaze plane they were flying over.
Well, you remember better than I do. What was that?
That's where you were so scared, you and everybody else.
Oh, okay. Well, the planes were buzzing us and dropping bombs, and I got so damn scared I went and hid behind some oil drums.
Of course, he didn't know where they were oil drums.
I didn't know they were oil
You
drums.
just
They were-
took the first.
it was an obstruction, but it was not.
May not have been the best choice, huh?
Yeah. That you do anything when you get scared.
Wasn't it you and another fella did that?
Huh?
Wasn't it you and another fella hit in the back of the?
Yeah. Well, we didn't know any better, so we seek refuge, but that wasn't very safe, wasn't very wise. But it turned out okay.
How old are you?
100.
100 years old.
100 and a half.
So in when the war, where were you when the war ended? Do you remember hearing about the bombs being dropped and what did you think about that?
Well, I was glad, man. We were celebrating. I was on an island, I guess. I don't know which island it was.
Probably still Okinawa.
Yeah.
That's as close as we got.
Yeah, you were still on Okinawa when you got. You were one of the first ones out of the service on Okinawa.
I had enough of service there to be the first one to be discharged.
How was that coming home? How was coming home? What was that like?
That was great. Went down to Bainbridge, Maryland, and got discharged from Bainbridge. We got the discharge there. And I didn't have far to go home.
Are there any other stories like jumping behind a barrel of oil that you remember?
He used to want to tell him about your boxing.
Oh.
What did you do for fun?
Okay. Well, the Navy has a tradition of smokers. You know what smokers
Sure
are?
do.
Boxing matches. And I was in that program. I was boxing other sailors.
How did that go? Were you good?
Well, I did all right.
Well, how about the time when you were supposed to go up against this big guy? He was out of your weight. You remember that?
Yeah, but his ship pulled out.
Yep.
Sounds like
He lucked out.
you were happy about that, huh?
Yeah, that wasn't a problem.
Yeah, but you were sweating it out before that you found out his ship pulled out to sea. Yeah.
Well, when it came to fight, why his ship was absent.
That made you the winner, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Disqualified, I guess, or something.
That was a relief, I believe.
Well, I remember when you were hitchhiking in a couple incidents when you were hitchhiking in L.A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that movie star Robert Walker picked me up, and he took me along and gave me a ride to where I was going. I don't know if you know Robert Walker, if you ever heard of him or not. He was not very popular.
Well, he was a movie star at the time, huh?
Huh?
He was a movie star at the time.
Yeah, movie star.
Strangers on the train.
How about the other time when that family picked you up? You were hitchhiking and a family picked you up?
Oh, yeah, this is funny. I was hitchhiking, and a lady with two kids in there, and asked where I was going, and I'm going in the same direction as her, so she took me along, and I sat in the car there, and it smelled like oh man, it was terrible. The kid himself, one of the kids himself, had shit himself. And he stunk up the whole area. That was nasty.
So did you get out before your?
Oh yeah, I didn't stay in long. I said, oh, this is about where I want to go. So I got out prematurely. I did have a good ride to go down Worcester Boulevard, but I couldn't stand it. I had to get out. Well, you win some and you lose some. Yeah.
You were in Alaska for over a year, so did you have any
I was in
adventures?
Alaska for several years.
Any adventures in the...
Yeah, I was in Dutch Harbor, Adak, and Kiska, and Attu. They're islands. Kiska and Attu are islands in the Aleutian chain.
They are the ones that the Japanese had attacked, right?
Yeah, they're the ones. Attu is the one the Japanese attacked. They attacked Attu, and that was the first engagement the United States had with Japan. Was in Attu. Now Attu is 90 miles from Russia, and it's real close to Japan. So that was the first engagement we had with Japan. What was that, 41?
Must have been.
I guess might have been 41. Anyhow, that was the way that went.
Why don't you tell him about your sleeping accommodations, about the tents? Did they have a tent and then another tent over it?
Well, we had canvas tents that were where our accommodations were, and in Alaska, for insulation, they put one tent on top of another, and kind of provided a little insulation there. So that was a little Seabee ingenuity. Seabees had a lot of ingenuity, I will say that.
Did you build mostly buildings or...
Yeah, we were building, we're actually, warehouses was the main construction. We were receiving shipments in these warehouses and storing for those to be directed toward Japan. So that was our job up in the Dutch Harbor and Adak, and then also Kiska did that, and that too. They were all part of the chain.
Do you remember anything specific about Okinawa when you were there?
Well, the natives had, they were primitive. They had a primitive, they carried baskets on their head. They carried those baskets on their head, and they were backwards, sort of. So.
Didn't the women want to be bare-breasted?
Well, yeah, they didn't. They let it all hang out. Yeah, they didn't care. But
why didn't you tell him where you went down to the Mariana Straits?
oh, well, in the Mariana Straits, the water is 7 miles deep. And I thought, wow, I got to go swimming here. So I went swimming in the Mariana Straits.
So you've been swimming in 7 mile deep water? Wow.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to the bottom. Yeah. was unbelievable. The water was so deep, but it looked like any other water swimming pool, swimming hole.
I think Ulithi is in the Marianas region, right? Ulithi, when you were on Ulithi, that was in that region?
Ulithi is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ulithi is.
Did you ever go to Guam?
All I did was in and out, stopped there
Right.
and headed on further west.
So when you were building in Okinawa, were they planning invasion of Japan from there?
Yeah, we have Okinawa was a staging base where we built Okinawa to accommodate the incoming traffic going to Japan. So what can I say? We prepared them for embarkation.
So you were happy when you didn't have to go there, huh?
Well, we eventually went there.
Right, but not as invaders. The war
Not
was
as
over.
invaders, no.
When did you go to Pearl Harbor? Didn't you go to Pearl Harbor?
Yeah,
Was that the
Pearl
beginning
Harbor.
of the war, or was that towards the end of what?
That was in the beginning. Well, during the war.
Oh, it was during.
Yeah, we went to Pearl Harbor during the war.
I guess it was still a lot of devastation there.
Well, I didn't see too much. I didn't see too much of it.
So after the war, you came back to this area? Is that
Yes,
correct?
I returned home. That's my home. I was born and raised there. Born and raised in Harrisburg.
How many kids do you have?
How many kids do I have?
Yeah,
How many do I have? 3?
Yes.
lots of grandkids and great grandkids now.
Well, I don't know. I've had a lot.
Four grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren.
After the war, you came back and what were some of the things you did?
Over to some of the things I did.
Yeah.
Well, where'd you work? You worked for the railroad for
Well,
a short period of time.
yeah, I worked in the railroads
Pennsylvania Railroad.
as a brakeman. I worked as a brakeman on the railroad. But then I started taking up sports, started playing golf. So
Well,
that-
you went before that. You worked at PP&L.
Well, yeah, I worked for PP&L. I was there for quite a while.
40 plus years.
So you've been retired for a little while.
Yeah, so most of that. As many years as he worked, he almost retired as many years too.
So you're 100 and a half, and you've seen a lot in your lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say to younger people, words of wisdom or advice?
What advice would I give young people?
Yes.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one.
Just do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and be very respectful of other people. I don't
Oh,
know.
well,
And
that,
their wishes and
yeah, well, that's true. Standard.
Unfortunately, it's not standard for everybody.
yeah. That was an old thing that isn't too much today. These kids today don't have respect. No.
Anything that you learned?
Beg your pardon?
Is there anything that you learned during your experience in the Navy that you think helped you in life?
Navy helped me in life.
Yeah.
Well, I got experience, construction experience. I was in the Seabees, construction outfit. We built things. And I was a carpenter's mate. So I had experience in carpentry and being a carpenter's mate, second class, I had a little more authority than some of the other guys. That was a pretty good rating.
He built this house.
You did.
Yeah, I come home and built this. I had this house built, but I built a carport. This is a carport, by the way. And I built this by myself, everything. I'd done everything in here. I have a patio out there and a shed and so forth.
But that you had, you contracted out to have the brickwork done, right, in the basement and all, Doug.
Yeah.
So I'm reading here that you met Elizabeth Taylor at one point. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. I was at a USO place where she was entertaining the troops, and I met her. Matter of fact, Robert Walker, if you ever heard of him, he was a movie star, and he picked me up. I was hitchhiking, and I needed a ride. I wanted a ride into to LA, and he picked me up as a hitchhiker.
I just read he died very young. He died in his 30s.
Who's
like
that?
Robert Walker in like 1950 something. So you must have met him not too long before he passed away.
Yeah, I never heard that. That's unfortunate. He had.
So you met Elizabeth Taylor, huh? I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, Elizabeth Taylor was just a 14-year-old when about that. She was just a kid. National Velvet. She played in that movie, National Velvet, I think it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, yeah, there's a bunch of guys around her talking to her and everything, asking her questions and all. But she was a good-looking young lady. So, other than that, I went to the USOs and all that, where USO would bring in movie stars, and they would talk to us and everything,
Sing and dance.
and we could dance with them and all that sort of stuff. Well, that's what USOs did.
Yep. Did you meet any other stars besides Elizabeth Taylor?
I don't remember.
Did you play a lot of cribbage too? You guys play?
Cribbage is a pastime game. If you ever played it, I don't know. It's a good game to play.
So you must have been on ships sometime to get from Alaska to Hawaii to Okinawa.
What's that?
You must have been on ships at some point.
Well,
Transport ships, yeah.
Were you there as, you were basically a passenger on the ships?
yeah. I was the only ship. I was a passenger on the ship. Yeah.
You remember the names or the types of ships that you were on?
Well, Gaines is a troop ship. I don't know the first initials. It was called Gaines, Gains.
And then that deteriorate or something. Was it after the war?
What was it?
War? Something. You'd have to look it up. About the Gaines ship.
What ship?
They built them so fast that I think it deteriorated very quickly, or something to that effect. I can't remember.
That doesn't surprise me. They were putting out ships every day, pretty much. Are there any other stories you can think of that he has told you that you think would be interesting? There's a lot of detail in the stories.
He came from a family. He was one of 9 children in the family, and 2 of them died young. He had 3 sisters and 5 brothers. So his brothers, let's see, 4 brothers were in the service. It was Uncle Nick, it was Uncle Frank, Uncle Ernie, and
4.
and you.
More than that.
Yeah.
No, that was more than that. That was Nick, Ernie, Frank, me, you, Joe.
Okay, Joe.
5 brothers were in the service during World War II.
Yeah. And you all came home. You all came home safe.
That's great.
We didn't get in any engagement or anything.
Now, Ernie was in the Korean War. The rest of us were in World War II.
he was in the Korean War. He had served there. He was the oldest one, and after we came home, then he was sent to Korea.
Why don't you tell him?
His turn, his service was after we come home.
Tell him about the time you were at the bus stations. I don't know where you were. Were you in Virginia? You and Uncle Frank.
Oh, well, we had been in Norfolk several times and kind of familiar with the place, and we decided, well, next when we're back at the base, we called up and said, I'll meet you at the bus station. Well, he went to one bus station and I went to another. So that didn't work out so hot. Actually, what we did was we called the Newport News in Norfolk, and we called one of those, either one left. And Shore Patrol answered. He said, "Yeah, there's a guy here looking for his brother." He said, "Well, tell him I'm in Norfolk." and so we got connected that way. Well, trials and tribulations.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do to make it to 100?
What do I have to do? What
do we have to do to make it to 100?
What's your secret? That's a good question. What's your secret?
I think
Manja, that means eat.
In Italian. My mother cooked with a lot of extra virgin olive oil, and I think that was the secret.
There you go.
Because she would have been 100 May 29th, but she passed away in January.
Wow.
His birthday was January 16th. My mom passed away January 25th. Wow. So it was a bittersweet month.
Yeah.
So you were married for
74
years?
Yeah, we had a long marriage. We were lucky.
Almost 74, 73, I guess. Yeah, you were 2 months short. 2 months short of 74
I don't know.
years.
I don't know what it was.
Did you have a friend that you went in with?
Yeah. I had a buddy, Ulithi Atoll. We enlisted together. We both joined the Navy at the same time, and we went to several ports of entry and all. And we were buddies in the war, during the war, for some time. We bunked together and lived in the same quarters and all. And sometimes we got separated, but we were pretty close to one another.
Did you keep track of him after the war as well?
Yeah, we remained friends throughout the war.
Didn't he go to another location other than where you went? You went to Aleutian Islands and he went some other place.
Well, yeah, when we went to the Aleutian Islands, then they split our unit up and sent some to Oregon. And I went at sea to the islands in the Pacific. That was my shore of duty. And he went to Oregon and stayed there and married a woman and spent the rest of his life there.
Wow.
So he hit it lucky, and I didn't. So, but I'm not complaining.
But you got to see more of the world than would he?
Yeah, well, I went around the world. Yes. It's a small world.
Well, you were at one of the most important times in American history. You were in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was important. It was sad